Welcome to the 2024 NFL Draft, or as we like to call it, the Alabama Invitation.
You are Locked On Bama, your daily podcast on the Alabama Crimson Tide, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey, everybody. Welcome back into Locked On Bama. Luke Robinson as me, Jimmy Stein as him. This episode is brought to you by FanDuel, and thank you for making us your first listen every single day. Jimmy, if it looks weird that we have the same clothes on from the previous podcast, well, that's because we're sort of back-to-back in this mother because I am in Salt Lake City. We do have a time change thing, difference, something, and we thought we better knock out both of these. So we're excited. Hey, I'm fired up, man. I've been on a plane thinking about nothing but the draft. And I'm excited about it, Jimmy. Look, we're not going to have a Bryce Young. We're not going to have number one pick. But I've seen a lot of mock drafts, and it seems like J.C. Latham is moving up a little bit. I just saw on the NFL Network, they have him going number 5. Of course, Kool-Aid McKinstry, he's sort of a wild card. I've seen him anywhere from in the late 20s to the like 11 or 12. So it's going to be pretty fun to watch. Again, Alabama have probably 4 guys go in the first round.
Yeah, a couple of numbers here for people to remember, just in case. I mean, this is how Nick Saban has ruined us. We'll have probably 8 guys go in this draft, possibly as many as 10. Certainly, I think 8-ish. And let's remember, before Saban got here, having 6 go was like either a record for a 7-round draft or close to it. I mean, 6 was like a monumental number before Saban, but Saban has done it so often. And having 4 first-rounders, it will be, off the top of my head, Luke, the 6th time that we've had 4 under Nick. And we had never had 4 in the first round until Saban. And now Saban will have done it 6 times. One year he had 7. I mean, I'm sorry. One year he had 6. That's the all-time record at Alabama and tied the all-time record, period, with Miami. So 4 in the first round is the second most we've ever had. It will be the 6th time that it's happened in the Saban era. So don't think this is normal, and don't hold Kalen DeBoer to this standard. It had never been done in college football history before Nick Saban, and expecting DeBoer to match Saban history is insanity, though I'm sure that a lot of fans is what they're used to, right? So Saban created this new normal that I think a lot of fans are going to have a hard time, coming down from. But it just goes to show the insanity of how good Alabama was in the Saban era and all these records. And the NFL draft just stands out. Again, 4 in the first round, that will tie for the second most in school history. And I do suspect that we will have 4 with Turner, Latham, Terrion Arnold, and Kool-Aid McKinstry. I believe all 4 will be taken in round 1. And I think there'll be a total of at least 8, if not maybe as many as 10 through the 7 rounds.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. And look, the NFL draft is always a ton of fun every single year.
It's fun regardless.
Yeah,
I love it,
funny,
even removing the Alabama guys. I mean, I love the quarterback intrigue and who's taking who, and such a fan of the NFL as well. I'm a huge draft, Nick. That's never changed. To me, while I love it, best described as my favorite sport in the whole world is college football. My second favorite sport is the NFL, and the draft is when those 2 worlds collide. It's the collision of my 2 favorite sports, and it never collides any more spectacularly than it does on draft weekend.
Yeah, and it's just a blast. And of course, this year it's going to be in Detroit, which is just different.
M&M's. I think M&M's going to be everywhere. Commercials on the stage, probably making a pick for Detroit. I think it'll be the M&M show.
Yeah. If he gets to get up there and make a pick, that would be pretty incredible. But let's start with who I believe will be the first off the board for Alabama, and that is going to be Dallas Turner. Look, there's some people that believe Dallas Turner is even better than Will Anderson. I don't. I think Dallas Turner is incredible. Just saying that he's not as good as Will Anderson is not a slight to anybody. Most of the planet is not as good as Will Anderson. But I feel like Dallas Turner would be really good. I would love for him to go to the Atlanta Falcons. I think that would be tremendous. I loved it when the Falcons had Julio Jones on the team. And I think it'd be a ton, and Calvin Ridley for that matter. I'd love for them to get Dallas Turner and really be able to follow his career a little bit more closely. I get the NFL tickets, so I mean, I watch all the games, but on the national scene, I usually get the Falcons games because I'm in Birmingham. So, anyway, I'm thinking that's where he's going to end up. I mean, just about every single mock draft has him going to the Falcons.
Yes, and that would be my official projection. So if okay, well, where do you think my official projection? I made these on BOL earlier today. I have Dallas going 8th to the Falcons, but I will say as the draft has gotten closer, I have less confidence in that pick. I'm worried that the Falcons. I'm with Luke. I want Atlanta to take Dallas because I kind of root for Atlanta, and 8 is a great spot to go in terms of money and everything else for Dallas. I wouldn't be shocked if the Falcons took Latu there because they want a pass rusher. Latu from UCLA might be the best pass rusher in the draft. I'm also a little worried that the Falcons could trade out of that spot and try to accumulate some picks. So I'm not as convinced as I was before, but yeah, it would be my official projection for Dallas is 8 to Atlanta. Notable that the two best in the business, in my opinion, Mel Kiper and Daniel Jeremiah, in their final mocks, both also had Dallas Turner going to the Falcons, both of Mel and DJ.
What has happened to Todd McShay? Is he anywhere? Is he somewhere?
He is nowhere. He was not. He was let go by ESPN a little less than a year ago, and to my knowledge, has not been employed. I don't know if it's ironically an off the field issue in terms of his health. I think there's been speculation about his health, but I don't know the facts there. He's still very active on Twitter discussing the draft, and frankly, we probably should have tried to have him on the show. Maybe we'll see if we can get him next week. Wouldn't that be cool?
That's what a
just occurred to me. We should.
What a weird way.
We should ask Todd to be on the show. I've never even thought about that.
Hey Todd, we know you're not doing anything else.
Come
on our show.
Well, what I'm saying is, a year ago, I don't think it would have been possible to get Todd McShay on our show. Now it's quite possible. So we'll see. He still has Twitter followers like in the 6 figures, of course. He's got.
Yeah, I mean, he's still probably getting paid by Twitter. I mean, right?
He's got so many Twitter followers. I don't know how that works, but he's active on Twitter discussing the draft. But Todd McShay is no longer working for ESPN. They use Mel and Matt Miller, who's very good, by the way. I like Matt Miller. And Field Yates, who's part host, part NFL draft expert.
All right, Jimmy, going to tell everybody about a little Monopoly Go now. I'm loving playing Monopoly Go. I know you are too. Jimmy's competitive. He wants to play it, and it's so much fun. And why wouldn't you want to go play a game that has been downloaded over 150 million times? Crazy. It's a great twist on Monopoly where you play on not one, but hundreds of Monopoly boards in crazy locations, building up amazing cities that bring you big money. But the best part is messing with your friends and family. I can charge them rent on my iconic properties just like classic Monopoly, but now I can also heist their vaults of their riches for myself. And the leaderboard showed me who the biggest Monopoly tycoon is. But it's not just my competitive side that loves it. You can team up with friends and people all around the world in time tournaments, and you choose and earn huge rewards. So get in the game and join your friends. What are you waiting on, man? Download Monopoly Go now for free on the App Store or on the Googler Play Machine, whatever the heck that is. I'm not sure what that is. Also, I have messed up and I have gotten rid of my little thing that tells me what my next live read is, which I think is FanDuel, but I'm not sure. So I'm just going to run with FanDuel because, why not?
We want to do it that way. Well, we love FanDuel anyway.
Actually, I don't even think I was supposed to do Monopoly Go. I don't know. Oh, wait a minute. This is the wrong one from way back. Okay. Yes, I was supposed to do Monopoly Go. All right.
Well, we should. We should give them a shout out regardless.
No, it's game time. It's game time. It's game time. I'm sorry. I love game time. Look, game time. Nobody has used game time more than me. I'd be willing to bet. Right? As a host for Locked On.
You can bet on FanDuel as to whether you've used game time more than any other
As the host for Locked On, wouldn't you say, Jimmy, that I'd be willing to bet I've used Gametime more than any other Locked On host? And we have a boatload of hosts now. So if you want to find out, hey, I wonder what Luke would do. Luke would go to Gametime and he would use promo code Locked On College for $20 off. And he would use it for comedy shows. He'd use it for concerts. He'd definitely use it for sports events because that's what he uses it for. That's what Luke, being me, uses it for all the time. College basketball, college football, NFL football, NBA games. If you want to go to, I bet you could do it for some high school games. I've never tried it, but I bet you could. I know you can do it for like the Montgomery Biscuits or the Birmingham Barons. I don't guess you can go to the Mobile Bay Bears. I don't think they have them anymore.
They are now the Huntsville Trash Pandas.
Yeah, the Huntsville Trash Pandas. You can do that, all that. So go to Gametime, download the app at anywhere on your Googler machine or on your iPods or you crazy kids with all your stuff, your Zooms. They probably have one of those. Go download the Gametime app, use it, use promo code Locked On College, and I promise you, you will love it. All right, so let's talk about who we think will be drafted next. And I think it's a healthy debate. You think it's going to be Latham. I have seen Terrion Arnold go next.
I have too. And he could go as high as 8 to the Falcons. But
yeah.
I would go with betting. I would go with Latham. I think Latham could go as high as 5 to the Chargers, which is where Daniel Jeremiah, who, by the way, knows the Chargers. He literally broadcasts Chargers games on the weekends. Daniel Jeremiah had him going 5 to the Chargers. I will be surprised if that happens, but you cannot rule that out. Kuiper had J.C. Latham also going to the Chargers, but had the Chargers making a trade and then picking with the Vikings and then picking Latham at 11. So Mel also had J.C. to the Chargers. I know this. I don't think J.C. would fall below the Saints, who pick around 14. I don't think he would fall lower than that. So I'm going to say in my official projection to the Jets at 10, who may very well take an offensive lineman to help protect Aaron Rodgers. And where I think Latham makes sense for the Jets is he can play tackle or guard. He played both at Alabama, started at guard or played guard his freshman year at Alabama before moving to tackle as a sophomore to junior. I got Latham 10 to the Jets, but the real thing to keep in mind here is I don't think he would fall further than 14 to the Saints. I think that's his floor.
Wouldn't you love to see him with the Saints? I mean, just like, yeah. I mean, wouldn't that be great?
It would be great. And the Saints are taking an offensive lineman. I've heard this repeatedly. There is no bigger lock in this draft than the Saints taking an offensive lineman at 14. And Joe Alt will be off the board by then. I mean, in terms of who's the first offensive lineman, so it's Latham or like Joe Alt.
You feel like Alt's going to go before Latham?
I feel like Alt will go 7 to the Titans and Latham will go 2nd. But I have seen in repeated mocks from really credible people, Latham going before Alt. But I would go Alt and then Latham. I like Alt's. People that are drafting that high are looking for a left tackle. JC played on the right side at Alabama, might end up playing guard in the NFL. Alt is a left tackle. He played nothing in college football at Notre Dame but left tackle. That's just what he is. And I think for that reason, Alt will go high. And I'm predicting 7 to the Titans for him. So I got Latham, though. I got Latham 10 to the Jets. But again, it would be more fun for me and you, Luke. I'm sort of hoping. I mean, I know it's less money. That's not nice to hope on our guy here. But I would love for him to play in New Orleans. The Saints are taking offensive linemen. You can write that down. That's what's going to happen with the Saints at 14.
Okay. And again, I'm fine with that. And I think the Saints need one. Who's the Saints QB right now?
The Saints QB is Carr. Derek
Carr. It is. It's David. Okay, Derek Carr. Yep. All right. I was going to say David Carr. God, they've been a world of hurt. But the thing about the Saints, right, or any of my local teams, with the glaring exception of Julio, like the Saints, if you want to consider my local teams being the Titans, the Saints, and the Falcons. It feels like the Titans took too long to discover Derrick Henry. I think they remember they signed DeMarco Murray, and then they just let Derrick Henry toil away back there. I'm like, what are you doing?
They wasted that.
They wasted 2 years of Henry easy. It's maybe 3.
They did. They really did. It's like they didn't know what they had, and then it wasted. And you can't waste running back years. But we'll see what what Henry's got left in the tank, playing for a great Ravens team and a good situation for him in Baltimore, though. But
and then, I thought the Saints, frankly, I thought they underutilized Mark Ingram. I think he's their all-time leading rusher.
Yeah, he's either their all-time leading rusher or scored more touchdowns, or maybe both.
Something.
Mark
like
Ingram has a borderline case to make for the Hall of Fame.
Yeah, you're right about the borderline. I would err on the side of not.
I'm erring on the side of not.
I love me some Mark Ingram.
But he is close. If there's a next tier, he's in it. I mean, Sean Alexander hadn't made it either. And Sean probably has a better case than Mark. But Mark's career numbers, it's kind of like a baseball player that like retired. And when you're retired, you find out he hit 400 home runs. He did. And you're like, you might have to put him in the Hall of Fame. Yeah. He never seemed like a Hall of Fame player, but 400 home runs puts you in. So Mark is sort of like that. He's got the career numbers, but I don't know that he. But man, what a nice career, no doubt, and lived up to the first round pick.
Yeah. I mean, he ended up having a great career. I was about to say I ended up having a great career. No, I didn't. I've had a terrible career.
It's up in the air.
Been littered with controversy.
You and Rush Probst both. Well, that was the last show.
So, all right, let's go ahead and what we're going to do before we talk about, I guess, did we spend more time? We didn't spend enough time. Who did we not spend enough time on here? Terrion Arnold or J.C. Latham?
We spent enough time on Latham. We said 10 to. I said 10 to the Jets, no lower than 14. We haven't really talked about Terrion, so we'll do Terrion next.
Right, we'll do Terrion and Kool-Aid right after I tell you this time, for real, not messing around. I'm going to tell you about FanDuel. I promise you, if I can ever find my live read thing again. Sorry about that. I mean, look, y'all, I'm out of my element. I'm an hour behind everybody. I'm in a weird state. I got a lot going on. So y'all just
they know we're big fans of FanDuel.
Yeah, well, of course they do. FanDuel's the best. Go to FanDuel.com/lockedon and you will see what I am talking about. It's playoff time in the NBA and the NHL, and baseball's in full swing, and FanDuel is your place to bet on every game. Right now, new customers get 150 smacks in bonus bets. That's guaranteed. That's $150 whether you win or whether you lose. And if you bet like me, you're going to lose, so you want a guarantee like that. Bet on everything from slap shots to home runs to slam dunks, all on an app that's safe, secure, and easy to use. So what are you waiting for? Visit FanDuel.com/lockedon. That's FanDuel.com/lockedon and make your first bet an automatic win, because FanDuel is America's number one sportsbook. So we've reached the defensive back portion of the program. And it's time to talk a little bit about our main men, Terrion Arnold and Kool-Aid McKinstry. Kool-Aid McKinstry, I don't know how many people saw it, and I wish that I could put it on here, but I mean, we've been told not to use like videos from other sources. I guess copyright, I don't know. But anyway, Kool-Aid told a story about the Gravedigger play this year. He said he basically was on the bench. Of course, he was on the bench while Alabama was on offense trying to score. And he said he was just sitting there like looking up going, I can't believe we're about to lose these guys. I can't believe it. And he said a security guard actually came up to him and said, hey, look, man, as soon as this game's over, I'm going to come up to you. And don't worry, I'm going to get you out of here. Don't worry. And Kool-Aid was like, man, now I know we've lost. The security guard's already saying. And then the next thing you know, of course, the Gravedigger play happens. But I don't know that any player – I'm trying to think of a player, maybe J.J. McCarthy has had a meteoric rise like Terrion Arnold. But Terrion Arnold went from a guy who they were like, yeah, he's a good athlete. And, yeah, he can probably play in the league, probably needs another year, to, oh, my God, he might go in the top 10.
Terrion is a reason that right now, the other day, I was about to write a piece on BOL. I was about to okay, what I'm going to do is I hope everybody understands how thin this limb is, but I'm going to project who Alabama's first-round picks might be a year from now. And it occurred to me as I was writing it, I probably wrote this a year ago, and I didn't include Terrion Arnold. I mean, who saw him 1 year ago being discussed as a potential first-round pick? No one's. That's why it's so hard a year out to predict that sort of thing. But Terrion is going to go higher than Kool-Aid. For me, I've got Terrion going in my projection. I had him going 17 to the Jacksonville Jaguars, which, by the way, would be great for him because that's a homecoming for him. Born and raised in Tallahassee, Florida. He'd be playing in his own backyard, which would be great for his mom and his family there for him to be in Jacksonville. Jacksonville's very much in the cornerback market. But here's the beauty for Terrion, and the same thing's going to apply to Kool-Aid, by the way, in terms of where he's going to go. Terrion's projected to go, in terms of like, where's Terrion's value? Maybe as high as 13 and as low as 20. Somewhere that's where Terrion should go, and per the experts, somewhere between 13 and 20. Well, in this draft, Luke, between 13 and 20 is several teams who want a cornerback. I mean, that's where there's some cornerback hungry teams. And one I'll point out is the Colts at 15. They want a corner. The Seahawks at 16. They want a corner. Jacksonville at 17. They want a corner. The Raiders may be way back there at 13. The Raiders may want a cornerback. So Terrion's going to go somewhere in there because he's going to be the first or second cornerback. He's in contention or competition with Quinyon Mitchell from Toledo, who showed out at Senior Bowl, showed out in Indianapolis. Terrion or Quinyon Mitchell will be the first corner to go. But there's 3 or 4 teams there right in the middle of the teens, Luke, that are picking corners. And it's hard to imagine Terrion slipping outside of that group. But I've got him 17 to the Jaguars. He could end up a little higher than that.
Yeah. Terrion, I think he will end up higher than that. I really do. I think he'll be in the – and I'm like you, and that is great that you have that many teams that need a cornerback. Is what that means is they're probably going to overpay to leapfrog somebody else.
Good.
And everybody talks about all the value. You say this all the time, especially like in the NBA when it came to Mark Sears. All it takes is one team to like you. All 32 teams don't have to love you.
Yeah, it's not a meeting where they vote.
And if the Chargers or if the Jaguars or if the Saints or if whoever says, man, we got to have a cornerback and Terrion's our guy and we can't lose it.
Who's not in love with him? Who's not in love with Terrion after they meet him?
By the way, that is a great point. I think Terrion has shown to be one of the more charismatic players, not just from Alabama, but in the entire draft this year.
Well, you want him in your locker room. That's a guy they want in the locker room.
Well, and I can tell you again, having met him and spent a fair amount of time with him one day, just talking about all kind of stuff. He'll talk about anything. He's very open-minded. He's it's not like he has no filter. He knows the game. But at the same time, he will talk to anybody. He doesn't look down on anybody. Doesn't think he's better than you, even though he is clearly better than you.
He's better than all of us.
He's very smart. He is
confident without being full of himself. That's hard to do. He's confident without being full of himself. That confident and humble. Those things are hard to pull off, but he does.
From a defensive back.
Yeah. I mean, it's hard to be confident and humble, but he is.
Yeah,
that's the best great way to describe him.
He's just a good dude. Now, that's not to say that our next guy, Kool-Aid McKinstry, is not a good dude. He is a good dude. In fact, I think one of the keys, the drawback to Terrion Arnold could be, if you look at it from a macro sense, that Terrion probably hadn't had to deal with being the guy. Kool-Aid has been the guy since he was probably a sophomore in high school. He's been a dude that everybody.
Grandma nicknamed him the Kool-Aid Man. I mean, he's been carrying. That's the best thing to love about Kool-Aid. That's a great point you bring up because what I love most about Kool-Aid is how he's lived up to the hype. Kool-Aid's lived up to the hype at every. We knew him. Me and Luke knew him. We've talked about Kool-Aid on this show in whatever form our show has been in. We've talked about Kool-Aid since he was in the 9th grade, and then he became a 5-star, and then after he's a 5-star. He comes and starts as a true freshman on a team that played for the national championship. He's a 3-and-done first-round pick. I mean, he's lived up to the hype every step along the way. Don't stop betting on Kool-Aid now. He's been a good bet every step along the way. And there were some questions about his speed. All he did was work his butt off and then run a 4.4 on it with a broken bone in his foot. I mean, this kid is a Sabanite. He's a Sabanized guy. So is Terrion. They're Saban bots. These are the last of the Saban bots. It's when we'll come up with a word maybe to describe, DeBoer's, type, but Terrion and Kool-Aid are sort of the last of the Saban bots. I've got Kool-Aid going 22 to the Eagles. I homered out there. The Eagles are interested in a corner. Kool-Aid's going to go somewhere in the 20s. I just got excited, Luke, because as we both know, your son is an Eagles fan. You're
Huge.
an Eagles fan. All Alabama fans are Eagles fans because there's so many Alabama players. And when I heard the Eagles are definitely in the cornerback market and they're picking at 22, I'm like, okay, I'm going to put Kool-Aid at 22 to the Eagles. Probably won't happen. But Kool-Aid, much like Terrion, lots of teams in the 20s want corners. So look at the Eagles. Look at the Ravens. My favorite landing spot for Kool-Aid is actually the 49ers, even though they pick at 31. That still puts Kool-Aid in the first round in the guaranteed money. But I just love that fit because the 49ers are going to be a Super Bowl favorite. They're already really good on defense. For all our guys, I'm rooting for them not only to be drafted high, but to get to that second contract. Kool-Aid would be surrounded with other great defensive players. It's only going to put Kool-Aid on a pedestal. So easier to be successful when you're surrounded by other great players. So 49ers are in the cornerback market. So I would love Kool-Aid to slip, frankly, all the way to 31, assuming that the 49ers take him there. But look for the Ravens, the Buccaneers are a spot for Kool-Aid too. Perhaps. Oh, Detroit.
I was going to say Detroit. Dang it, don't.
Detroit.
Yeah.
Detroit, who took J-Mo. They took Gibbs. They took Brian Branch. They're like the most popular players in Detroit. In the drafts in Detroit, if they announce Kool-Aid McKinstry in Detroit, who, by the way, is a household name, everybody that follows the draft knows who Kool-Aid is. It's the beauty of that nickname. They all know Kool-Aid. The place will erupt because the Bama guys are popular in Detroit. Kool-Aid's a name they all know. And that's the thing about fans, right? They like who they know. They're not all Mel Kiper. They like who they know. They know Brian Branch was great. They know J-Mo's great. They know Gibbs is good. That would be great. And by the way, he's been mocked to Detroit in a few credible drafts late. So
on this last NFL Network draft that I was watching just before the show, he was mocked there. And I could certainly get behind that for sure.
So that would have 4 Alabama players in the first round. Again, that would be the second most in school history, though Nick has done it 6 times. It had never been done before Nick Saban got to Alabama, and this would now be the 6th time that it's happened under Saban. 4 in 1 draft. No other team, not Michigan, not Georgia, not Ohio State, no one else would have 4 going in round 1 except Alabama. And let's not forget another major thing tomorrow on the draft. I'm going to watch – it's on about 5 networks. I'm going to watch ABC for the draft because that's where Reese Davis and Nick Saban will be hosting on ABC. And by the way, College Game Day comes on from 4 to 6 on ESPN. That will be Saban making his College Game Day debut from 4 to 6. And then starting at 7, that same crew will switch to ABC. And they will be the ABC crew. ESPN will then have Kiper and those guys on the ESPN. And, of course, NFL Network will have Rich Eisen and Daniel Jeremiah. But I'm going with Coach Saban.
All right. That's going to do it for today. And best of luck to all the Bama guys, of course. And we will talk all about it on Friday's show. And until then, roll tide, everybody.
Roll tide.